Hi Bobcats, it's Mrs. Woolhite. We're still in Chapter 6. We're actually finishing up today. We're going to be looking at Chapter 6, Lesson 14. Okay, we know that in Chapter 6 we've been dealing with dividing. We're going to divide today by powers of 10. Okay, well why, Miss Woolhite? It's a standard, something you have to learn in 5th grade. So I'm hoping at the end of the lesson you'll be able to divide by powers of 10. So we can do that mental math. The whole reason why we're learning this strategy today is it helps you solve things in your mind. Okay, it'll let you solve some math quicker if you learn the patterns, the strategies today. What do you already know about the powers of 10? Well, let's look at this problem. I know you know 10 times 3 is 30. Okay, and if we multiply by something 10 times bigger, 100, 3 times 100 is 300. Oh, I added an extra 0 because I grew in my power of 10. Okay, we also know that if we multiplied by 1,000 and we made our answer 1,000 times bigger, the product 3 times 1,000, then we would get 3,000. So when you multiply by 10, your product has 1 0, just like 10. When you multiply by 100, your product has 2 zeros, just like 100. When you multiply by 1,000, your product has 3 zeros, just like 1,000. So from my experience, I know that there's a pattern. When you multiply by a multiple of 10, that will help you solve in your mind. All right, let's look at those steps today when you start to solve your problems. Number 1, determine the power of 10. Are you dividing by 10? 100, 1,000, determine that power of 10. 2, move the decimal to the left. The same number of zeros in the power of 10. So if you're dividing by 10, we're going to move to the left 1 time because 10 has 1 0. If you're dividing by 1,000, you're going to move to the left 3 times because 1,000 has 3 zeros. So step 1, what is the power of 10? Step 2, move to the left the same number of zeros in your power of 10. Step 3, is it reasonable? Does your answer make sense? All right, math in my world. Laura needs to make 10 payments to pay for her new motorized scooter. How much will each payment be if the scooter costs $219.50? Well, we can go ahead and divide like you've learned in the last lessons, right? You set up that decimal and divide. Or we can learn what we're doing today another way, which is move the decimal point, be able to solve in our mind. Okay, we started with $219.50, and she's going to divide that by 10 payments. Well, step 1 is determine the power of 10. Well, there's only one power of 10. Step 2, we're going to move to the left according to the number of zeros in our power of 10. Well, there's only 1 0, so I can go ahead and move my decimal 1 place to the left. So she's going to have to make $21.95 each time she makes a payment. If she pays $21.95 10 times, she will pay that vehicle off. So look, I solved that in my mind. And how did I solve it in my mind? Dividing a decimal by 10 moves the decimal point 1 place to the left. Example number 2, math in my world. In the past 10 to the second power years, or 100 years, right? 10 times 10. In the past 100 years, scientists measured the movement of the continents to be 190.5 centimeters. If the continents moved the same amount each year, how much did the continents move in 1 year? Well, step 1, what is your power of 10? Well, my power of 10 is 10 times 10, or 100. So I know that I'm dividing by 100. Step 2, I need to move the decimal to the left according to how many zeros are in my power of 10. Well, there's 2 zeros in my power of 10, so I can move that decimal 2 places to the left. So what is the answer? Well, I'm going to keep all of the same digits, right? I'm going to keep the 1905. And I'm going to make sure that I move my decimal from 190 over right next to that 1 so that I move it 2 places to the left. The consonants moved, and I know they moved that much in 1 year, right? All right, guided practice. Divide. Check your answer using multiplication. Well, step 1, determine the power of 10. Well, the power of 10 is 10, and there's 1 0 on 10. So step 2, I'm going to move to the left 1 place value. So 1 place value would put that decimal in front of the 7. I know it's reasonable because my answer did get 1/10 the size, or 10 times smaller by dividing. Okay, if we look at guided practice number 2, determine the power of 10. Well, I know 10 times 10, or 2 tens, multiplied is 100. How many zeros are on 100? Well, there's 2 of them. So I'm going to move to the left 2 places. So I can keep those same digits and move my decimal 2 places. Okay, I know my answer is reasonable because it got 100 times smaller. And I did that by moving 2 places to the left. Independent practice, divide. Check your answer using multiplication. Okay, well, I know step 1 is determine what is the power of 10. Well, the power of 10 is 100. How many zeros does 100 have? Well, it has 2 zeros. So I need to move 2 places to the left. I'm going to go ahead and keep the same digits. But this time it's a little trickier. I can't move to the left unless I add a 0. I can move 1 place, but to move the 2 places to the left, I needed to add a 0. So I know my answer would be 100 times smaller by moving that decimal 2 places to the left. So again, keep those same digits. I'm going to erase this so you can see it. And then I'm going to put my decimal in front right there, showing that I moved it to make it 100 times smaller. All right, let's look at number 5. The power of 10 is 100. There's 2 zeros. I'm going to move 2 places to the left. Well, 187 thousandths is the answer if I move that decimal 2 places to the left. Ooh, 10 to the 3rd power. We know that's 10 times 10 times 10, or 1,000. How many zeros are there? 1, 2, 3. I can move 3 places to the left. Well, again, I better add some zeros. If I add 1 0, I still can't move it 3 places to the left. I'm going to add 2, so I go 1, 2, 3. That makes it 1,000 times smaller. All right, we're still in independent practice. We're going to divide. We're going to use that power of 10 to try to solve quickly and in our mind. 1, what is the power of 10? Well, I know 10 to the 2nd power is 10 times 10, which is 100. 100 is my power of 10. I'm going to make that number 100 times smaller by moving the decimal 2 places to the left. So again, I know that I'm going to need to add another 0. Because the decimal right now is here, in order to move it 2 places, I need to add an extra 0. So that makes that number 100 times smaller. So I know I have the right answer. Okay, what about if they just have a 1 here? Well, that's only 1/10. And how many zeros does it have? It has 1 0. So I'm going to move to the left 1 place. value. So it becomes 246 thousandths with the decimal there. I'm going to make this number 100 times smaller by moving 2 places to the left. Oh, I'm going to have to move that decimal 2 places, so I better add that 0 to move it around 2 different numbers. All right, problem solving. Herbert bought red beans to make chili to sell at a fundraiser. The total price of the red beans was $13.90. How much did it cost for each can? Well, I can see here that he got 10. The quantity is how many he purchased. So he got 10 cans for $13.90. So if I divide the amount he spent by 10, I will know how much 1 can of beans cost, because that's what they're asking. How much was 1 can? Well, in order to figure out the price of 1 can, I need to move the decimal 1 place to the left. So right there. So how much did each can cost? Well, I don't have to put the 0 there. It has no value. Each can of red beans cost $1.39. Okay, number 16, problem solving. In Alaska, scientists are studying the melting of glaciers. They found that in the past 10 years, the glaciers receded about 59 5/100ths of a foot. If the glaciers receded at the same rate each year, how much did they recede in 1 year? Okay, well, here's the question I have to answer. How much did they recede in 1 year? Well, this is how much they receded in 10 years. So what's the power of 10? There's 1 power of 10. So if I move that decimal 1 place to the left, then I should know how much it receded each year. So every year it was receding 5 905 of a foot. All right, I want you to think about, what did you learn today? Well, you learned that when you divide a number, a decimal, by a power of 10, you can solve that in your mind. Once you know that power of 10, is it getting 100 times smaller, 1,000 times smaller, or 10 times smaller, or even more? When you know how much smaller to make that number, you can move the decimal to the left. By moving the decimal to the left, the number's getting smaller. So in summary today, I learned that the value of the number changes when you move that decimal. The more you move the decimal to the left, the smaller the number gets. The more you move it to the right, the bigger the number. So again, that power of 10 really helps you solve in your mind. Thank you so much for your attention. Have a wonderful day.